90% of people can be redeemed. They can just, everyone in Purple Hyacinth just needs to get therapy. Lots and lots and lots of therapy.
Kim's getting therapy right now. We've got the ball rolling.
Welcome to the Story Tinker podcast, a place for in-depth analysis of stories, mainly from Webtoon. Co-hosted by sharp, witty, and dare I say, thirsty fans, we dive deep in every episode, analyzing character struggles, relationship development, and of course, theories. We also interview people working in creative industries. You can follow the Story Tinker on YouTube, podcast platforms, and social media. For bonus content, sneak peeks, and more, you can support the Story Tinker on Patreon. We're really appreciative of your likes, subscribes, follows, comments, and ratings on all platforms. Thanks for listening to the Story Tinker, and let's get started. An unknown person is speaking to Messenger VII, telling them that they're taking over the operations. We wonder whether this person is working for the leader or for Apostle VII supporters. They leave the messenger with new directives. At the APD interrogation room, two officers try to wake Elvira Lloyd, only to discover that she has been killed by Golden Viper venom. The same venom has killed Ryan Flemmings, whom Bella has just killed, apparently angrily. We speculate why. Kieran and Bella share an odd dynamic of youthful comfort, but also distrust. It doesn't take much convincing for a still hurting Kieran to help Bella move the body. He also tries to dissuade her from sending Flemming's body to his family, no doubt because of the guilt he feels over similar actions. They quote a Barbie line before reaching the morgue, where a somber Moriarty receives him. Both Bella and Kieran seem to be fishing for information. Bella implies that Kieran is untrustworthy, and wonders why he keeps working for the Phantom Scythe now that his reason, probably the protectee, is gone. They engage in a short discussion about the morality of their behavior, with Kieran saying they had no choice, and Bella reminding him that they could always opt out. We learn that they have some sort of agreement between them, and that Bella owes him something, but her ultimate loyalty is to the Phantom Scythe. Bella once again pries, trying to find out if Kieran cares for Lauren. He denies such weakness, but points out Bella's own. She repudiates any affection, but would also kill Finera, so... We learn that Bella feels appreciation for the Phantom Scythe for rescuing her from being a Grey Chapel orphan, and to Apostle VII for making her powerful. We flash back to a younger Bella being abused by a drunk father and returning to kill him. Kieran and Bella debate on who is trapped, and Bella ends the conversation by claiming she needs to prepare for her next kill. We discuss the characters' differing approach to morality and choice extensively, and end with horrible speculations about Kieran's final words and their potential irony. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 115, Precarious, Pact of Purple Hyacinth. And today we have our regulars, Fwoot and Bundin, and we have a regular for MPL, Midnight Poppyland, Patty. So Patty, if you want to say hi, I'm very excited to have you on PH. But if the PH audience could be introduced to you, that would be great.
Sure. So like Mindy said, I'm Patty, and I normally am on the Midnight Poppyland podcast, but I'm really excited to be here on Purple Hyacinth because this is like my third favorite webtoon ever on there, and I'm finally glad that I got a chance to actually be on here and talk with you guys about all of the psychological aspects, because most of you, if you're coming from the Midnight Poppyland fandom, you know that I'm a therapist and I love to dissect things psychologically, so that's what I tend to focus on.
Yes, and so we're happy you're here for the psychology between the main characters in this episode. And I also would like to make note, Fwoot is very happy. I thought about when I was reading it, because I was like, oh, Bella, a whole episode of Bella.
Okay, so I've probably mentioned it on podcasts before, but Kieran and Bella are my personal favorite, like, dynamic within the story itself. I know, shocking it's not Bellarcy, right? But yeah, so I was like, I saw the end of the last episode and I was like, oh my god, if the next episode isn't about Kieran and Bella dragging Ryan Flemming's body through our TARDIS, I don't want it, you know? I was so hyped for this episode, and it gave everything. Like, it was so good. It's like definitely one of my new favorite episodes.
Yes. So
everybody's getting fed this season.
We are.
All right, so let's start. We start out with our familiar wax logo, says, and then a stamp transaction concluded, and it's on a form. And then we zoom out, we see
a messenger and a hooded person and a table with a bunch of those documents on it. And we have text, the plans for the delivery have been changed thanks to your most recent fiasco. Our other hideouts are safe for now, at least. And this is the messenger, and it is not thanks to you. And then the other person is saying, I think the other person said it's not thanks to you also, right?
Yeah.
And this anonymous hooded masked person says, I've been mandated to take care of the operation from now on. I hope that you prove yourself to be more competent than the other fools. Messenger, they are being taken care of. Other person signing something good. So I just want to go through this and then we'll discuss it. Here are the new directives. Envelope seals it. You know who to give them to. And then we see a little bit of a close-up of a person, but it doesn't really help because there's just eyes and a nose.
I zoomed in on that and I turned up the brightness all the way on my phone. I was like, who the hell is that?
I don't know why, but when I was scrolling, my first immediate knee-jerk one was like Herman, but then I was like, no, not Herman, I think. But like, I don't know why it gave me Herman vibes. I don't know why, but
I think it's like the doom and gloom in the eyes, you know?
Yeah.
There's like so many lines under that man's eyes, that person's eyes. We don't know their gender. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw them, I was
I
thought
just
it was
the last line?
Raphael. Oh
Last
yeah, sorry.
Redcliffe's plans might have been shattered, but not the leaders. So let's figure out what is going on here. Because I'll admit it was a little confusing to me, to figure out what's happening.
Okay, so what I've picked up from the scene is that this isn't the Grim Goblin, I believe, where Kieran gets his orders from Messenger 4, and it's mainly because the table is different and the room is much smaller, as well as the hooded figures mentioned to your most recent fiasco in reference to the factory. This is also likely not Messenger 4. It's more likely to be Messenger 7, who worked with Apostle 7 to kind of just like be a messenger between the people who are working for Apostle 7. And we don't really know who this hooded person is. They're probably someone with ties from the circus. I would say circus is where I would be the most suspicious of, mainly just because of the circus's ties to Redcliffe, who we definitely know now is Apostle 7.
Finally. Confirmation.
You know me, I always think that Messenger 7 is Raphael just because the tattoo's in the same spot. It could be different person, same tattoo spot, like whatever, but that's just like the only person we know of with the wrist tattoo, and they were the ones at the Carmine Camellia, and they got they were the messenger that we saw there and everything, so we know that. So that's who it is in my mind, though it could not be. So
I've presented this theory multiple times, but I like to believe that it's Athena who is the ringleader of the circus. There's not a ton of evidence to go with it, but by now, like, we do have it confirmed within the comic that voice modifiers do exist. And so I just think, you know, you could fit a voice modifier in that beak, right? In the messenger beak,
well, and if you think about it, I'm not great with tinfoils with Purple Hyacinth, but if you think about Athena and like the type of the goddess that she's named after, I mean, this is a strategist at her core, so it would totally fit.
And additionally, like, Athena also has that baton with a bird's head on it. I wonder where else we've seen bird heads, you know?
Well then.
Kind of weird. Out of all the animals you could have beheaded to put on baton, you had to pick a bird.
Exactly.
The bird heads. I've seen those before, but
I think the hooded figure is a guy because they kind of just look more like how Soph draws dudes. But again, it is kind of harder to tell. So
But the one thing that confused me is that it seems like this person is talking to Messenger 7 about continuing with the Apostle 7's plans, but then the last line is like, oh, the Redcliffe plans are shadowed, but not the leaders. So what are they doing exactly? Are they continuing Apostle 7's plan, or are they taking over the operation for the leader? Like, did you understand that?
I think I would agree with you. I'm a little vague on it. I think they're still continuing the plan for Apostle 7 because of the mention of the other hideouts. So they have other places besides the factory. But, you know, now, like, Flemmings, and as we'll find out later in this chapter, Elvira are dead. So I don't know. Like, because it's the messenger who's more like, it's our hideouts who are safe. and this hooded figure who's like, y'all really messed it up, right? And because the hooded figure says, I've been mandated to take care of the operation for now. So the operation is still going.
But who
Probably
mandated
by
this person?
the Apostle.
VII?
Yeah. Because they say that I hope you will prove yourself to be more competent than the other fools, which is referring to Flemming, Sake, Elvira, Onslow, etc. And then they are being taken care of is, Bella slicing them.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess the last line just confuses me because of the leaders.
Yeah. And then I think for the leader, how the leader plays a part in this is that how, although like Redcliffe kind of failed, like the leader has not failed yet. And so I feel like it might be kind of saying that it's like the leader still has it out for him, sort of like the leader still has like a goal, or I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm confused by that line as well.
The vibe I get is that the leader, like, because I wasn't on last week's recording, I haven't had a chance to watch it either, but like seems that the leader is taking it, kind of realizing that what Seven was doing is kind of like getting support within the organization, and he's kind of trying to make the best of it and kind of trying to flip it to make it his thing, right? So that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from it, that he's kind of pushing Seven out of the picture and kind of making it his own thing for his own to like maintain his power, maintain like his grip on the people in the organization, that type of thing, right? That's the vibe I get. So I think that's where they're moving all the assets and the resources over to his control.
Yeah, I was also thinking that like similar, like along the lines of that is like the leader was just taking control of the operation right now that Seven was wherever, because Seven is kind of incapacitated right now after the last episode because Seven got taken away to who knows where. And so this hooded person might have just been sent by the leader to like, do damage control.
Okay. Well, we'll see more soon. And the next scene, we have Mrs. Lloyd hunched over on a table, handcuffed hands, looks like an interrogation room. And we have two APD officers, looking at each other with a questioning glance. And they're like, "Oi, Miss Lloyd, this isn't a place to sleep." But she's not sleeping. They pick her up and she is very clearly has been dispatched by the Golden Viper blade. They're like, doom.
She got Capri Sun.
She did. My main question for the scene, like, it's a very straightforward scene. But what I've been wondering is, how did Bella get in there? Like, I was like, the guards were probably at the door. So my guess is that she like went through the vents, which means Bella's sus, but that means Luna isn't the only person to use the vents in this comic.
I don't know if this was just me, but like this is just the vibe I got. Like if she's in like an actively guarded area where she's being like surveilled like 24/7, right? Like she's not really alone at this point because she's like a prisoner of interest and like all this other stuff. I thought that maybe she had like a cap of the venom, maybe in like a fake tooth or something. And she's like, I mean, it's a bad way to go, but like people did it in the past where they had like cyanide capsules, for example, to like escape interrogation, not say anything, but also they know for a fact that it would be worse to be left off because then they would probably get killed by another assassin in just as brutal a way. So I don't know, that was the vibe I got potentially, but like they don't really make it clear. That's just the logic in my brain, if that makes sense.
For what I was thinking is that like about that is that Golden Viper venom is pretty expensive. I'm pretty sure Herman was the one who said that. So I don't know if they would actively be making like capsules of it. And also like I don't know why someone would choose Golden Viper venom as a way to go out because it is very painful. And also the messenger's line of they are being taken care of, they referring to multiple people, so not just Ryan Flemmings. And so it's Elvira probably was the one being
that was the one
after
thing.
herself.
That was the one thing that was kind of like, but like I don't know how Bella could have gone in there, killed her, and then dipped without anybody noticing.
Well, I mean, she went in for Harvey, so I think
went in for Harvey, but like,
I mean, she went
you guys
Harvey,
are giving the Ardallis police too much credit. Like they've been infiltrated how many times?
True.
We got to remember that these are the people who looked at two charred bodies beyond identification and we're like, yeah, that's definitely the vigilante duo, and we can tell the whole world that they are most certainly dead.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't give them that much credit. I'm like, you guys have been infiltrated how many times, and you still have one in your midst and you don't even know it.
Or more than one, potentially. One
Right.
minimum.
Yeah.
One in that
I mean,
office.
they put Onslow, who is one of the old loon convicts, in like the most guarded place in Artalis, right? In the tower. And this is probably not the tower because she's in an interrogation room, not a cell. But you know, if Onslow was given that much like importance and just like as like a prisoner, then Lloyd probably was too. And so I think it's impressive that Bella probably got past a bunch of guards and killed none of them. She got to Lloyd. You know, Kieran,
True
you know your place, you know.
Leaf out of her book. Yeah. All right. So speaking of Bella, that's our next scene. We have bloody Bella standing over bloody Flemmings.
She's so hot.
I
have to say it.
New outfit.
I know, new outfit.
I know. She looks
Thank
very
God.
good. It's great. And
I just couldn't help but like the look. I'm sorry. Do you want me to pause before?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say the next panel where it kind of closes in on her face. What a dead psychopathic face. Like, I can't get over that. She's just like, you can tell she's not feeling anything right there.
I think, okay, so we have a lot of Bella like insight later on. So I guess we'll save it for them because there's a lot to say about, I think we'll have different opinions, I think, about what Bella's emotional state is because, yeah, I just think we will.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, I want to say that her look here reminds me a lot of when she killed that one woman back in episode 88, because it didn't look like she really took any like pride or like joy from that either. It was like very much like a monotonous expression.
Yeah.
Like she looks tired to me. That's right.
It's just like she's like, oh, another day on the job.
And that's
Also,
what Kieran says. He's
I
like, oh,
just-
Belladonna, what a charming surprise. How was work today?
Yeah, I just noticed that the cut, like where she put the blade in Flemmings, it's smoking. I'm like, damn.
Ooh,
Then that's like,
I didn't really pick up on that.
what is
Yikes.
this venom, right? Because it's like it causes you to decompose and smoke and all of these things. I'm like, what is in these snakes? How do these snakes not kill themselves with this shit? Like, I don't know. Like, how can you even handle this stuff and not die immediately?
I didn't know.
We're just going to say magic for right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a girl who can detect lies. They got some like weird fauna in this universe, I guess. And I just
We also
accepted
got
that.
Hecate, whose predictions are most likely definitely going to happen.
I like your most likely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kieran's all casual about it. He's like, oh, how was work today? And I think, she's like, oh, short and sweet as always. And that's one of the things that is, I don't know what to say, like interesting or like indicative of their relationship is that they both had very, very nasty jobs. And they both, whether they want to be, ignore the seriousness of what they're doing, whether they think the other person wants to do that, which I think is more in Kieran's case, but they're both very flippant about it. And I do think they have slightly different motivations. I think for Kieran, it's a little bit more of an act where he wants to pretend that it's totally normal that they're just assassinating people.
Well, and it's ultimate dark humor, right? When you work in that kind of line of work. So like, even as a therapist, I have a really dark sense of humor because you hear the worst of humanity all day long, right? And so you get a little desensitized to it to an extent, and it's more to like protect your own psyche. But also, you do end up having to be a little bit cynically humorous about it, or otherwise you'll crumble emotionally. So I could see that becoming part of their way to cope through all of this, and just kind of using the, hey, how's Tuesday at the office kind of humor.
Yeah, I agree with Patty. I thought that it was definitely Kieran. Like, I think they're both somewhat desensitized to it. Like, probably not fully desensitized to it, but like, there's very much a difference in how Kieran reacts to his murders now versus how he reacted to that Chandelier Man murder back from episode 78. Yeah, so he doesn't express nearly as much emotion as he did back then, because and Bella's just whatever, like she gets it done with immediately.
Kieran acts like how Bella feels.
Right. And I do think it is an act, because we know that he feels tremendous guilt over himself, and he every time he looks at himself in the mirror, he sees a monster, he sees blood, he thinks himself as a monster. So we know that internally, even if he doesn't break down crying every single time like he did for his first time, he definitely still feels a lot of regret. Obviously the purple
Kieran isn't desensitized of it to the point where like he just has no emotions at all, but he is, I'd say, to the point where he can do it, like just get it over with, right?
For those short stints.
And then I think particularly when he's around people, right, like him and Bella, like they have that dynamic where it's like he can say these things and she'll like respond back, and they have their kind of own like flavor of banter, right, around their work, because that's all they probably had to talk about growing up together. Like we don't know when they met, really. They probably met when they were like teens. So it's like, this is just how their relationship is. So him kind of falling into this, even though there's a dead body there, he's kind of desensitized, but it's more like, oh, hey Bella, what's up? Like, this is not, he's probably found her in this situation before.
This ain't the first time.
I mean, like in the 73 in one of the 73 flashbacks, she is like standing over his body because he was shot. It was just laying on the ground. So he's like, Flemmings, I know how you feel.
Oh God.
So she wipes her blade and she's like, short and sweet as always. And Kieran is looking down at the body and he says, you went angry on this one. Bella has this little smirk and she's like, what's wrong with having a little fun from time to time?
I have two thoughts about this panel. So the first one, it's like Bella has a red eyeliner on right now. She looks so good. But also this is like definitely different than what Bella usually does, as Kieran makes a point to say like, you went angry on this one. And for me, like, we don't really know that much about Flemmings, but it kind of makes me think that he did something to offend her personally at some point.
Well, I'm more inclined to think that she was in a bad mood because of something else, because we haven't had any indication that Flemmings honestly is not more than just like a stock operations guy, like he doesn't have any personality. So I kind of think it's not Flemmings. I don't see them developing him further as a character. I would think it's more like just Bella and her mood.
I think also it's the fact that he was working to betray the leader, right? So it's like he has had her eye, just like Sake, just like Elvira, all these people, right? They were all in this secret operation, and as we see later in this chapter, she kind of feels like this deep sense of loyalty to the Phantom Scythe. So it's like she sees anybody who goes against what they're going for as like, okay, her enemy, because she works for the leader first and foremost. She says that like in a few panels, right? So I think that's part of it, is that she's been wanting to kill this guy for a while, and now she finally got to, and she had a great time doing it.
I didn't think too much about this panel, but it was kind of like just my initial thoughts, like, oh, let me say something to her. But Minnie, you bring up a good point, like maybe she was angry over something, because
that's a lot of blood.
It's a lot of blood, but it makes me think of episode 91, because that was still relatively recent, like maybe a week or two ago, probably 2 weeks ago. And I don't know if she'd be angry about it for that long, but I don't really imagine her really having the best day after that conversation with Redcliffe, because he did kind of like threaten Darcy again. And she just got hit with her ex coming back the night before, so I think anyone would be rightfully upset over that.
Right.
Well, and when you're one of those types that in order to do the job that they do, they have to do a lot of emotional stuffing, right? And just like we were talking about before, I think Bella, she has stuffed to the point where she's forgotten what it's like to feel emotions. And just like I said, like having her ex pop back up plus things going wrong, it's made her feel a little bit, I think. And so she's channeling, she's trying to stuff it back down and channel it through this contracted kill, right? Because any other day this would just be a normal job for her, like, oh, I was told to go do this, I'm just going to go do it. Because in the past, she's been very clean, calculated, and just very smooth in her killings, right? And this one, she decides to rough him up a bit. And even Lloyd, the kill she did in there, that was messy too.
So that's a really good point, because with Stake and Harvey, they were both like just single slits. Like she slit Harvey's throat, and then she did this tiniest cut on Stake's cheek. And then with the woman from 88, I think she threw her knife into her back, which is definitely
came out through under her chin.
Okay, yeah, which is definitely more violent than we've seen before. And then with Flemmings here, she full on just stabbed him like right in the front. She like had to pull her knife out of his torso. And that's definitely
arguably,
like,
that's
very
probably
different.
quicker. Stab in the chest, get by the heart, spreads faster, kills him faster, potentially. I don't know how this stuff works.
I mean, Sick did like just collapse to the ground right after. It's a very like fast working venom, so I don't think it really matters where you cut it, as long as you do cut it, then they're gone.
So Kieran kicks him basically, or pokes him. Pokes Flemmings and says, "Isn't that your former colleague?" Precisely. Which that would bolster our theory, right? Precisely is I mean, that's why she's angry at him. That he was betraying the leader. So that line I think makes sense. Yeah. And then she grabs him under the cheek. Well, sorry, almost grabs him under the chin. Which I'm wondering, like, is the blood, does it still have traces of poison in it? Is it dangerous to touch, to the skin? Like,
that's my thing, right? Like this stuff, it's like just a little bit getting in your bloodstream can kill you almost instantly, right? I mean, it clearly is like through the blood, right? But she just got his blood all over her face. She maybe hit an artery or something and went, like that's probably what happened. So it's like, are there traces of it on her like face and stuff? But I mean, she clearly knows how to handle it. Like this is her weapon of choice, right? So I guess it's safe to touch. It's like venom. Technically, you could drink it, and so long as you don't have any cuts in your mouth or in your stomach, you will be fine. It's once it gets in your bloodstream that it really does things to you. The difference between venom and poison, right?
I'll be damned. I did not know that.
Yes.
Biologist. Hey.
I'm still not going to drink venom, just FYI.
Yeah, you can drink venom, but you
still
can't
not going to
poison.
risk that.
But like,
So my first thought for this panel, she looks so good. Second thought, building off what Bundin said, like in one of the above panels, she was like wiping the knife with a cloth, and I was like, girl, is that safe? Like I was thinking that. And then I realized that like she's wearing gloves too, which are probably also made of cloth. Like, are you sure you have no paper cuts?
And Kieran's like,
to die, so
don't touch me.
His face.
I know. It's like, that's major freak out face.
I love his face here. It looks like kind of derpy, but also like the want to help me move the body like the good old days Kieran. Like this is nothing new to them. Like I love this so much,
He's like, not particularly. No, it's like your friend asking, like, hey, I got a couch I need to put on the sidewalk to be picked up by like the garbage guys. You want to help a brother out? And you're just like, nah, that's the same vibe, except with a dead body.
As one does.
Look, if you guys aren't carrying a dead body through the city, are you guys even friends? Like, come on.
And speaking of come on, that's exactly what she said. She's like, come on.
The white face.
Her face transforms. She's no longer like cruel, callous, cold, calculating. She's childish. She's whiny.
I love her so much.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to wipe the blood cleaner. The shop owner is going to get mad at me again.
Like it reminds me of like siblings arguing, like it's like I could like replace the dialogue in this panel and it'd be like Bella complaining about the chores she has to do in front of like her brother Kieran, and I'm like it's so good. Like I'm sorry.
Well, no, and there's a psychological sorry.
Please go ahead.
I was going to say there's actually a psychological phenomenon between people who were raised together, and like when you go back home and you interact with each other, you typically regress in age in terms of your behavior. And I even notice myself doing this when I go back home and go see old friends. Like suddenly I have a Spanglish accent and I'm acting like I'm 15 again. So I can definitely see that here between these two.
Yeah, like I feel like especially later, like when Bella brings up Kieran's girlfriend, it reminds me of like, you know, like teens gossiping, right? You know, teasing each other. And I love that for them.
Yeah, and part of me thinks that I feel like she's exaggerating a little bit, just for on purpose for comedic effect. Where she's like, yes, I know this is crazy and it's a dead body, and I'm gonna milk it and make it as absurd as possible.
Yeah, and you know, she knows that she could do that with him, and it's not like gonna be weird.
And I love how I'm gonna have to wipe the blood clean, or the shop owner is gonna get mad at me again. Like this has happened before.
The shop's just her perfect place. It's right by the morgue. It's in the part of the city where people don't care about people dying. You know,
it's a dead body
next door. Like
no one questions two people dragging a body out to the alleyway.
They recognize the purple hyacinth like immediately, like from the last episode. It's like, hey, yo, that's the purple hyacinth. What? And then like imagine the same guys like chilling out there. They're like, yo, yeah, they just killed that guy. Wow, we saw nothing.
Awful. Yeah, and Kieran's reaction, he just rolls his eyes and he does what she wants him to do, by the way, because Kieran is, I think, ultimately like a soft boy at heart. And he says, kill him in some dark, narrow alley like normal people do next time.
The best line.
I laughed so hard at this.
Kieran, you don't understand. Bella's not like other assassins. She's a material girl.
She's like too mainstream.
Yeah.
But
she's not basic.
Kieran is the kind of guy that he'll complain and he'll whine, but he did it. Like he didn't take. He just like she's like had one fetch, and he was following her orders because he's a softie.
He's a bro. Like you know, his friend asked for help, and he will drop everything to help a sister out, and I respect that.
Yeah. However, this does make me wonder. Like Kieran and Bella, they have helped each other out before, you know, with their assassinations, and they are like partners. Like they would be sent on missions together. But I wonder, like in a more high stakes situation, how they would have helped each other out more, because later on in the episode we do find out that Bella has a debt to Kieran. So I'm like, Kieran, this is probably not the first time where Bella has had to ask you for help. Like, I'm just
Well, and actually, I'm suspicious of her intentions with this conversation, honestly, because she seems like the type of person, now that you bring up the debt, she seems like the type of person who would not want to be indebted to someone, no matter who they are. And I think she's information gathering here too. And so she's trying to put him off with the banter and the humor to get him comfortable and disarm him. And I think he's trying to do the same to her because he suspects something about her. So it's this interesting dynamic where they're both picking at each other, but I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like building a bit off that, whenever we see Bella and Kieran, it's very much like a battle of the wits, right? They're both trying to like figure out what the other one is up to, as we saw in like the bar scene from season 1, and then, you know, in episode 72 and 73. So but
well, information is leverage.
So. Information is blackmail.
Yes.
A code to live by.
Yeah, like I totally agree. Like they're comfortable with each other, but they don't trust each other at all.
Yeah.
I described it on the server last night as like a weird mix of like almost loyalty and suspicion at the same time. Because we see, like, one thing we learned in this chapter is that they look out for each other. They don't rat on each other. They keep secrets for each other, even from their bosses. But at the same time, they don't trust each other far enough to throw them. You know, like it's tentative and it's careful and it's cautious and it's all in like they want to understand each other's motives in a way, but it's very personal. I don't know. It's really interesting. What we've learned.
It's very different as well for like Bella, at least, because she does have like it's implied that she has like relationships to other people in the Phantom side, like, you know, the circus, because that's kind of who she was raised with, and it's very much implied that a lot of the circus has ties to the Phantom side. And Bella shares a lot of like very incriminating information about her own views in this episode to Kieran, and she feels comfortable doing this, even though like just 2 weeks ago ish, you know, her ex stopped by, and that was enough for someone in the circus, Messenger VII, to rat on her to the Apostle. And yet in this, she was literally like, yeah, I'd kill the Apostle for my girlfriend. What about it?
Interesting. Well, she trusts Kieran in that regard, not to rat her out.
Yeah. So I kind of like that, because it definitely like illustrates a difference between Bella's relationships and especially like in her professional life, because there isn't really a lot of people who she can like talk to about things like these. But with Kieran, here she is doing it. But like with anyone else, she'd probably get reported to the Apostle immediately. And I think, you know, the same goes for Kieran. They don't really have a lot of people that they can tell about the things they do without getting like backstabbed. And, you know, Bella says that like she has her little moral code about how she won't tell anyone because he hasn't done anything drastic yet.
You know, for this not being a mafia. Oh,
that's it.
Sorry?
Oh no, I was backstory so bad.
Yeah, there's a lot we don't know, and we're 3 seasons into this for sure. But what I was going to say was, you know, for this not being a mafia comic, it's sure got some mafia undertones. Like we trust within, but we don't trust.
Yeah. Oh my God, Kieran with an Italian accent.
No,
like no. Instead of like, you know, random like little like French like phrases he says, he's just speaking in an Italian accent like the entire time, like a heavy like New York Italian accent.
That, or like I'm picturing Boston like Irish, like, you know, South Boston, like that as well. I'm just like, oh God.
Oh. Sorry, I'm getting us off track, guys.
Okay, let's continue, because I don't like that image necessarily. Sorry. And Kieran winces with pain as he is picking up the body. So he still hasn't recovered yet. And he's like, all right, you're dealing with blood on your own though. Where are you going to drop this off? And Bella smiles. She's like, and as she lifts Flemming's, you know, upper part up, good old Moriarty, which more is death, obviously in Latin roots, is going to take care of him. Might send him back to his family. Ugh, which is gross, obviously, and disgusting and nasty and cruel. Okay, not that we're surprised that the Phantom Scythe is gross, horrible, nasty, and cruel. And Kieran says, not sure the family wants to see this. The speed at which your victims decompose is amazing, which, credit to Kieran, I do think he genuinely, you know, is trying to prevent the family from seeing this horrible image of their family member. Yeah. So I do think that he's really trying to prevent that and, you know, be a good guy.
Just like, it's like when he says that, but like he's done some things that's like almost so much worse, like the dad coming home and seeing his like entire family like dead, sat up on the couch and stuff. I was like, Kieran, you've done some nasty stuff too, sir. Don't like.
And that's why he's bringing it up, because he felt that memory was so present to his mind when he flipped out and thought of himself as a monster when he was triggered by Lauren calling him that. That's what came to mind, because he felt so guilty about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just realized Bella's not actually wearing gloves. Like in the next panel, oh, she's not wearing gloves. Those are her painted nails right there.
Yeah.
Unless she has nails on her gloves.
I mean, they do have those.
Yeah, they do have them now, but like, girl, safety. Come on. Come on.
Yo, what if Bella dies because she accidentally like has a cut in her hand and the venom gets in it, so she dies?
A welcome relief, you know.
And she's like, waves those perfectly manicured hands. She's like, it's not that bad. It's just needs a little shaping. And then Kieran, as they're dragging him out, he's like, to the salon.
They quoted the Barbie meme.
Look, I grew up with Barbie in the dream house, which is where this quote is from. When I saw this, because it had a bit of a reemergence on TikTok.
It did.
Recently, it had a meme. This was like the meme. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God. Kieran and Bella played with Barbies when they were kids. Like that is where like Bella learned about titty windows, and then Kieran ripped off the titty windows from Bella and the Barbies, you know?
Wait, rather than that. Somebody needs to make a meme out of this. Okay, I'm not the person because I don't do that stuff, but someone needs to do it.
It's gonna be there in like 5 weeks when this episode becomes free. There's gonna be so many memes of it. There's gonna be the audio, the clip playing with them saying it, them in Barbie world. So many things. So many things.
I just want to say, if they were characters in Barbie in the Dream House, Kieran would be Ryan and Bella would be Raquel. I'm correct on this. And
I have no idea.
Ryan and Raquel are siblings in that show too. So
watch the Barbie movies that up to only like the ones that were released pre-2008. So like my knowledge is limited other than the memes. So
yeah, Barbie in the Dream House is like straight gold. I know it's a kids show, but like there's some stuff in there that's like
I was just talking about
really
this
good
before
show.
the podcast started about kids shows being good. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, if anyone has watched it and knows who Ryan and Raquel are, please comment below if you agree with Fwoot's assessment.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, Raquel is the one who's trying to get with Barbie's boyfriend, Ken, but she's like very much like, you know, kind of like sassy, like she's like the mean girl stereotype, you know. And then Ryan is like her dumbass brother.
That's not nice.
Is Barbie in that analogy, Darcy?
Raquel likes Barbie?
Anywho, so we now are at the morgue. They have indeed dragged his body all over the place. We didn't get to see anyone's reactions. Presumably it's not significant enough to even show. And they reach this building, grimy, dirty, old looking building. And he asks, so why did you kill him? Trying to gain some redeeming points after the shit show your operation has been? And she's like, just like your mission to find Looney.
Oh my God.
Shade. I love how like the entire PS is in on this, on how Kieran like failed, you know, because they were like the gutter snipes were like, damn, the purple hyacinth like just failed his mission, you know, I wonder what he's doing here. And then Bella's like rubbing it in too.
Meanwhile, Kieran's just there like, I didn't have to kill anybody. Yes.
Well, he was gonna take already dead people, but yeah.
Yeah.
And he reaches up against a door, winces, he's in pain again, and he's like, end result's the same, isn't it? Can't say the same for you. And she is also kind of trembling, I guess, just with the exertion of holding him. Okay, and she's like, my role has always been to watch and kill. I was keeping an eye on them for the 7th, but I'm working for the leader before anyone else. So they're making us very clear where her loyalties lie. And she says, the order came from him. I don't need redeeming points.
This line makes me kind of think that Kieran has been in a situation where he had to like, you know, get redeeming points, because Kieran does have a bit of like a sketchy track record, I'd say. Like, I mean, he's literally like in the vigilante duo that's trying to take down the leader. He's probably been a bit rebellious before, especially with like, you know, the protectee. And so, like, if Kieran felt any way towards the protectee that Bella does towards Darcy, then he probably would have been, you know, a bit like less abiding by the rules in the PS. But he still was number one just because out of his like skill. So yeah, I feel like Kieran in the past would have had to do something like as redeeming points. Maybe it was Hanbury, you know, to show like his like loyalty.
Well, and what's interesting is that throughout the seasons, and maybe it's just because we have an insider's look in his own head, I think, you know, there are enough people, and even Bella talks about it later on in the episode of like, you know, he knows, you know, the leader knows who to trust. And so, you know, he's got a reputation for you know, kind of skirting the rules and doing what he wants. And, you know, and it's pretty obvious that he's bitter about the Phantom Scythe. Whereas, you know, what's interesting, like, even though here Bella is stating like, I'm working for the leader before anyone else, I'm not sure I entirely believe that, because I feel like she works for herself first.
Yeah.
And she tacks her compass to whichever side is going to get her to win. She doesn't care who it is, right? So she really has no allegiance to anyone but herself.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that one. A while back, I like wrote this thing on like why I believe Bella to be a morally gray character, because like if you put it on like that spectrum of like lawful good or whatever,
right?
I was like, it seems like she would be more of like on the evil alignment, which is more like, you know, I work only for myself. But I think Bella, she works in her self-interest, but I think she also works a bit in the interest of the people she really cares about. So like that being like Darcy, because she does care about Darcy. I think it's kind of obvious. Like, and I think that like she's not totally open to helping Darcy, but the way that like from Darcy's like Darcy believing that she could go to Bella for help probably like kind of clues me into like, oh, they probably had like a more like beneficial relationship in the past.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think, you know, if Bella was entirely like self-interest, she that wouldn't have been the case, but because she had that relationship, she was able to, she didn't look out for just herself. And I think also like I like to think that Bella telling Darcy to leave was her looking out for Darcy, because as we later find out that, you know, Redcliffe puts Darcy's life under threat with as blackmail to Bella. So I think she works in her self-interest in the Phantom Scythe, but she is capable of like looking out for others. And I hope we see that with Kieran.
Well, and
like
I'll
her
just
for Kieran.
Yeah, and I hope that I'm wrong about this. I do. And at the same time, I know that even sociopaths, even though they struggle with a sense of like feeling a lot of emotions, they usually have people that are close in their circle that they align with. So like the example that I always think of is the Iceman killer, right? Because I read a lot of documentaries or watch a lot of documentaries on serial killers. And one of the things that this particular serial killer was, you know, was very important to him was his family. Like he lived the white picket fence life, had, you know, wife and kids. Now, granted, he was abusing them behind closed doors, right? So he still wasn't quite the family man that he portrayed himself to be, but he would go through hell and high water to protect them from anyone else. So it is possible that they have connections. How deep those connections go is another story. So I don't know if that's what Soph and F are trying to do here with her character. I'm interested to see where they take her. But I still get very sociopathic vibes from Belladonna.
Oh yeah.
So
I definitely see that. I'm biased because I'm a Bella apologist, because she is my favorite character. Like I should say that, you know, I will be biased. But I think like definitely how I've perceived Bella has changed with the course of the comic. Because like, you know, I think at the beginning in season 1, like, and maybe like early season 2, I was like, she's giving sociopathic vibes. But I think as we learn more about her, I'm like, there's definitely like a lot more to this. And I think, you know, she's a foil to Kieran, and I wouldn't really consider Kieran sociopathic. And so I think like she's kind of at the point that Kieran was like really early in the comic, where he had like very much a facade going on, you know, a lot of confidence, but you know, behind closed doors he was very much not that. And I think Bella's like kind of still like riding that wave of like, you know, everything is fine, I'm doing fine. And you know,
I'll be interested to see what they do, because this is my early assessment. We'll see what happens.
So yeah, I honestly, until the episode with what was it, Darcy, I thought she was just pure sociopath. I thought she had no emotions. I thought she genuinely thought it was fun to kill people. And I didn't think there was any pretense. But then when she had that episode with Darcy, I could tell she had feelings. So I don't know, because the way she talks about everything, all the killings, it does still seem like for her to be that flippant, she would have to be like completely, like you said, like stuffing those feelings down, or maybe it's been like something she desensitized. So I don't know. I just, it does still feel like she really doesn't care.
Yeah. I think something that is interesting between Bella and Kieran is that for Kieran, we haven't confirmed that he's been in the Phantom Scythe for 7 years now, maybe like 8 now, since it's a new year in the comic. But Bella
he's been killing for 7 years. He could have been in the organization.
Yeah, he could have been in for longer, but we know at least 7 years, and the Phantom Scythe has only been around for 10 years. So he probably wasn't indoctrinated in there until like Allendale train station, maybe like a couple months before earliest.
14 at the earliest.
Yeah, but Bella has been in this, and like she has been with Redcliffe since for like 15 years, which is definitely longer than Kieran has right now, unless Kieran was circus, but this chapter makes me believe that he wasn't. And so just like with the kind of man that we've seen Redcliffe to be, who's like very manipulative, and he definitely does not like Bella having relationships, as we see in 91. I feel like she would have kind of like learned very early on how like emotions are a weakness. And so like having ingrained that in her as like a very young child, because she was like 9-ish maybe when she got picked up.
She's a bit older than Kieran, isn't she, in canon, right? Like
in canon, like, okay, this was said like a year and a half ago probably, so it might have changed, but she's either Kieran's age or like a couple years older, but we don't really know.
I think that's what I remember.
I think it might be a little retconned, because I like to believe that she's 24-ish, maybe a bit older than Kieran, but in the flashback when she gets picked up, she looks very young. So I was like, that looks like an 8-year-old, 8 or 9-year-old. But yeah, so Bella has definitely like lived in a situation where she had to like, where she was like, that we know of right now, because Kieran, we don't know what's going on with him ever. But yeah, with Bella, she had to live with Redcliffe for 15 years. So
yeah, that's a good point.
That'll do it.
Trained after, So back to the conversation, she's like, I don't need redeeming points. And he says, your apostle might though. You know how much our leader appreciates people shaming behind his back, which is a very ironic statement coming from Kieran.
Right?
Whatever he's shaming, we still don't know.
I also like how, again, like on Kieran being the circus, he refers to Apostle VII as Bella's apostle, meaning he's probably unaffiliated with Apostle VII. So circus Kieran theory, you are on thin ice right now.
Doesn't he usually see Apostle IV as well? So I always just assumed Apostle IV was his person, and also since Apostle IV was the one to organize the beating for him. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Bella answers to Apostle IV as well. It kind of just depends what they're going up against, you know?
I need certain jobs done for their specific roles.
So Bella explains he's managed to get a lot of followers in the past weeks. They're just waiting for his signal. I'd be more worried about what's going to happen if he's murdered than what the leader does to him. And meanwhile, they're dragging the body through the hall, and this Mortimer guy probably bringing out a table. Moriarty, I think.
It reminds me, I'm sorry, I only know it because of the BBC's Sherlock.
Oh yeah. Thanks. And the guy is like, he has his hat on and he's bandaged up all over. So okay, I don't know what happened to him, but fine. He's like, Flemming, it's about time he died.
Damn.
I love how this guy probably has like all of the tea about all of the killings that go on. It's like he knows who's about to die, who needs to die, who's been like avoiding death. He probably knows about Abel Sandman dodging all of these assassins, right? Like,
yeah.
So
I mean, if you're like an undertaker, I guess the job gets kind of bleak. You know, hearing the gossip about what's going on must be kind of fun.
Think about it. He might be hearing everything in this conversation that Bella and Kieran are having right now. But I guess he is again like, I gotta keep my mouth shut. He's like the doctor guy, right? He's like, I can't say anything because they'll know where it came from, and then I'm gonna die either by golden venom or by a sword with a flower left over. And I don't want that. So he probably just is
no
like,
flower this time.
Like he's in the back in that room with the body, like eating popcorn, listening to the tea. He's like, oh, but it's just for him. It's just for him. But he can't say anything.
Funny. Well, yeah, that's what he does. He just takes the body, goes away, puts it in this room. It's like,
looks like the Squid Game.
Closes the door.
Body room.
Yeah.
No, Flemmings wakes up and he's like playing the Hunger Games, you know?
Oh, boy. And Kieran asks, is the operation, which I think, Patty, you're right about the like information gathering. He's like, is the operation still on now that everyone's dead? And she's like, of course, we just got reinforcements. Nobody is irreplaceable, except, wink, wink, maybe you and I, but between you and me. And now this part, I think this part is for sure her digging into him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the leader knows who's more trustworthy. Trying to get a rise out of him, trying to see what's he gonna say. She has some suspicions of him. I think she suspects that he doesn't want to be in the Phantom Scythe and is plotting something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, Bella's pretty smart. I think she'd be like, I think, you know, because flowers are like the national flower of Artalis. So I'd assume that like a lot of people have like a bit of knowledge about purple hyacinths, right? So like, imagine being Bella and your partner is like, yeah, I drop a purple hyacinth every time I kill someone. And she's like, yeah, what are you trying to say, Kieran?
And also, right? Like,
yeah.
Sorry.
They know each other very well. So like, I don't think Kieran could be like, yeah, I totally want to be in the Phantom Scythe. And Bella would be like, are you sure about that?
Yeah, like as we see, right? She knows about his past and like his, like they know each other on a really personal level that we can see here, right? Like a lot of their backstories and like their past relationships and things in their lives, right? They're clearly like close in that sense, right? So she's probably had this on her mind for like a few years now, right? Like,
oh yeah,
why are you still with us, right? And she's just been kind of watching him. Part out of like the relationship that they had, like she wants to like, she doesn't want to be like betraying him or anything, but also out of curiosity, out of like wanting to know so that she could be prepared for it to come the time that he turns on them potentially. Like I don't know, it's very interesting to see her them kind of digging at each other, trying to get information out of each other, right? Being honest with each other in a sense, or like not being honest. What are they telling each other? What are they not, right?
Yeah. And I love these Bella and Kieran episodes because Lauren is never present. And that's what makes them so good.
You're so right.
What a lie is. Because a lot, you can take everything they say at surface level. That's fine. But there's often a lot of double meanings in their words, and it makes it super fun to analyze. But yeah, I personally think that Bella definitely thinks Kieran is Loon. I mean, Kieran picks up a police officer girlfriend. Like she's gonna be a little sus that the man get a girlfriend, you know.
she doesn't know for sure. Again, let's do some
She
dialogue.
doesn't know for sure, but like I could see it kind of being like Tristan, you know, because Tristan, we didn't really see him investigating Lauren that much, but we did see him like, you know, make some like off comments about like, what's your angle, Lauren? And then we found out like later on after it was revealed that he knew like how he knew and such. So I think with Bella, like, you know, she's also very perceptive and like she's known Kieran for a very long time. So like she'd probably notice how his attitude changes.
Yeah, and she does ask him directly. I mean, he tells her with this, you know, kind of like down facing, like kind of like serious and attentive and a little nervous look on his face. He's like, what are you trying to insinuate, Bella? And she smiles again, that smirk, focusing on her smirk. And she says, I've always wondered why you kept working for us even after what happened, which is completely, you know, bolded, and we just don't know. We still don't.
She looks so good.
This looks so very hard.
Sorry. She does. That panel, everything about the panel.
Even when I was reading it, I was like, Bella looks good in that episode, that one panel, right?
That coat does things for her, you know.
She was like
I was like, ooh, who's gonna like this chapter a lot?
Yeah, this chapter is my religion, but yeah, also, the line like I'm sure the leader knows who's more trustworthy, which is definitely like I'm more trustworthy than you, especially since the leader got her to spy on Apostle VII, and for that, like I was thinking about that, and I was like, it like
Yeah, Kieran has definitely done some more stuff besides the loon in the past. And like it makes me like kind of like more curious about how Bella like is trying to become number one, right?
Yeah.
In the leader's eyes. And I think like, you know, because there is that rivalry between her and Kieran, maybe not like on Kieran's side, but for Bella, like, yeah, she's definitely like competing with him for that title. And you know, I was thinking like, man, imagine how frustrating it must be for Bella to like do everything right. You do everything right and you're still only second to the man who's number one, who is literally trying to take down your boss. Like,
it was a very odd way of trying to get sympathy for Bella, I just have to say.
I'm throwing everything at the wall right now and seeing what sticks, you know?
But also, right, like as we see later in this episode, there's a reason why Kieran had to like re-enter the good graces by doing a lot of murder. And like think like even like with the Tower murders, right? Like he broke the record, he killed everybody, he killed like all of these people, right? And that kind of to them proved his loyalty, right? Because he went and did the thing that nobody else could do that could have gotten him killed and did it in the most brutal way, did everything that they wanted, right? So I really want to know, like we see this later, like clearly there was some sort of manipulation with like someone that he cared about, right? And so what did they do to like get him to say, obviously we know that he stuck around to like get information to try and get to the top and then eventually kill the leader. That was his goal. But it's like, what happened to get them to trust him again? And like all these other things. Yeah, he did all these killings, but it's like, how are they so secure in themselves to be like, yeah, no, this guy's our guy. He's our guy. He's our number one. Yeah. Like, I'm really curious about that.
Well, and I would question whether or not him being number one necessitates them trusting him, because they could just as easily reveal, like they could send him on these missions and know that he's going to do it because they have so much leverage on him. It wouldn't take much for them to just leak something to the Ardalis police department and be like, hey, here's your killer. Right, because they've got dirt on everybody.
Then he could turn on them. He knows a lot about the organization as well.
True.
Right?
True. So it's a tit for tat, and that's happening in the conversation here too. I think after we get through these next like 5 or 6 panels, I want to point out the cadence of the visuals. I'm going a little peg on this one.
Okay, so yes, let's do it. Kieran's in the shadows and he says, was I ever given a choice? And Bella says, killing is always a choice. With her first serious look on her face, she's not smirking. And Kieran says, we were children when they forced it upon us. And Bella's like, oh, how pitiful. Ending it has always been the other option. And she puts her hand across her throat and slits it. And they're very direct. They're very in each other's faces. But you haven't taken it yet. No, you had a reason like we all did. And that reason, since that reason's been gone for years, I always wondered what your motivation is now. You want to talk about these panels?
So when we go over these panels, look how their faces are. So we start out with the panel where she says, but between you and me, I'm sure that the leader knows who's more trustworthy. And then we only see half of Kieran's face as he's playing this chess move with her. He says, what are you trying to insinuate, Bella? And then we only get a piece of her face in the next panel that says, I've always wondered why you kept working for us. And then bam, there's her face, her full face. It's like, all right, come to light of day with this, even after everything that happened. And then here's the sparring part where Kieran comes in and he says, was I ever given a choice? And what's interesting to me is that in the half face panel, even though he's trying to pick at her, that's one of the first genuine expressions we get from Kieran. His game face isn't on there. But when she exposes him and starts playing this cat and mouse game with him again and says, I've always wondered after everything that happened, he puts his game face back on. And she sees it. And then she gets the serious face because I think he struck a nerve with her. And she says, killing is always a choice. and she's got the flat looking face there. And then we get another image of Kieran, serious face again. We were children when they forced it upon us. So like when I look at how these panels are arranged, it's very much a back and forth, a tit for tat. We're sparring at this, and we're trying to keep our game face on, but there are sometimes where we can't do it. And we're poking at each other's old wounds because we know what those wounds are. I love the way that flow went, and how they kept going back and forth between honesty and deception.
Yeah.
Agreed 100%. That was very well said.
So I have to say
that's good stuff.
A point for Bella not being a sociopath is the fact that she's finally serious when she talks about how killing is a choice, because that is our first indication of any moral questioning on her part, any caring about morality in her part, because she's like, oh, it's so much fun to kill people. And here she's basically saying that we're making a choice to kill people. And basically like we're choosing not to kill ourselves, and we're choosing to kill other people for whatever reason. And so this shows that she has thought about the morality, and there's a little bit more later where she talks about her motivations. But it's interesting. Like I did not expect that from Bella. I really thought that she didn't care to some extent, but this is showing that she considered it and is doing it anyway. Which maybe a little bit was worse. I don't know.
I think for like both Bella and Kieran, like there's a lot like they're foils to each other. They're very much meant to parallel each other. But this is where we see like that difference between their mindsets to killing really come in clash. And I'm gonna read something that I wrote when the episode came out, because I think it just says it really well.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, God, can I just say I love Bella's mindset in this. Like, by no means is it healthy, but she points out the very obvious that neither Kieran nor her are passive in their murders. They still burden that accountability, regardless of how they came into that situation. Kieran tries to make the excuse that it was forced onto them, but Bella very bluntly reminds him that they always had a way out, that being death. However, both of them choose to sacrifice their humanity for their motives, prioritizing their goals rather than their inherent morality. And there's something else I wrote. If I can find it, I'll share it.
The last part I didn't like, where you called him a selfish hypocrite.
Oh yeah,
I agree with everything until then.
Okay, yeah, here we go. I found it. So Kieran's excuse makes me think that Kieran is still in some denial that he's a monster for his actions, but it's not really his fault. He doesn't have a say in what happens. But Bella's correct. Both of them absolutely have a choice when it comes to their occupations, even if that choice is deadly for them. Kieran's line about how the situation was forced onto them seems like he's trying to cling on to some sense of morality in his murders, one which Bella has long abandoned. He doesn't want to fully acknowledge the larger role his agency does play in the killings, as well as how he actively benefits from the murders, besides financially and professionally.
Yeah.
Kieran has something to gain personally by continuing these murders, which Bella points out in how his motivation was supposedly dead. He's continuing for some other reason that certainly isn't whatever the PS offers him for being the purple hyacinth. Kieran is searching for something else at the cost of lives and his humanity, which Kieran accepts he must both sacrifice in order to achieve whatever goal he's pursuing. And then I said, Kieran is a selfish character, killing not because he has to as a purple hyacinth, but because deep down he wants to. He as a character needs to, because these killings have brought him closer to his motivation.
All right, so I liked everything until you called Kieran selfish.
But am I wrong? Because I think it's like really interesting to think about, because Kieran, right, they're in the Phantom Scythe still because, as Bella says, like they have a reason to stay. And Kieran's reason to stay right now that we know of is that he's trying to take down the leader. But in order to take down the leader, he has to kill a lot of people, and he's playing the long game, yes, but he himself is causing a lot of harm to other people, even if it's like inevitable, because he works as the purple hyacinth. He is like benefiting from those deaths because it tells the PS that he's loyal and should be kept around, which means that he still has the opportunity to pursue that death of to pursue like taking down the leader.
Wait, I just have one question. If you're gonna call Kieran selfish, are you gonna also call Bella selfish?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
call Bella selfish.
Fine, as long as it's equal.
I'm just gonna throw it out there that even good people have selfish motivations from
Yeah.
time to time.
Oh, I
And
think
it doesn't
most people are
necessarily
selfish all the
mean,
time.
yeah, I mean,
Self-interested.
I think a lot of the selfish motives that Kieran has are kind of the ends justify the means kind of morality. Whereas Bella finds no use for morality. And, you know, she, like you said, that she abandoned it because it's not useful. It's seen as a weakness in this world. And Kieran instead still has it, but he's trying to stuff it and pretend that it doesn't exist.
You could also argue that her and Darcy's relationship, right? Like, she later says in the chapter, I know we've talked about this before and like bringing it up now, sorry, but it's just part of the conversation where she says that she would kill the apostle if he ordered her to kill her. And that, you could argue, is a selfish thing to do because that's the one person she refuses to kill, not out of any love of humanity or anything, but that's the only person she cares about. That's her person, like not her person in terms of possessive or anything, but you know, oh, I care about her. I won't do it. I will kill you instead, right? So you could argue that that is a selfish reaction as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I think like we need to know more about their relationship for that, because it's definitely like in Bella's, like, you know, it's definitely beneficial for Bella to keep Darcy alive, but also like she is protecting someone else. So like I wonder, like, you know, is she doing it because, you know, she loves Darcy, or also because like she does like genuinely care about Darcy's life and does not want harm to come to her?
I mean, you could love someone and care about them and not want harm to come to them. It's like, but then in protecting, like, she wouldn't do that for literally anybody else, right? It's not out of a love for people. It's I care about her, so that's why I won't do it, right? It's that doesn't make her a good person, like, you know, like that.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Not saying that I don't like Bella and like her whole relationship with Darcy. It's just like interesting. It's an interesting perspective to think of it through, because you could argue Kieran protecting Lauren and stuff is almost like the same thing. Like, he cares about her, so that's why he's going out of his way to help her out. But we've seen their relationship, so we know that it's out of like a caring thing, that he sees her as like sees her and her friends as the best of humanity and wanted to protect them. Like, we see that. We don't know with them, so we can't really say. But with them, I mean Bella and Darcy. So it's like, interesting. I want to see more. I want more.
I totally see that. Yeah, it's like why earlier I said that I see Bella as a morally great character. But yeah, like this line, it makes you think a lot, because like, you know, I've been talking about this comic for like with people for like almost 2 years now, and you know, there's always been that conversation about Kieran and like his humanity and his morality, and you know, whether like can he be redeemed, or it's like, are the murders really his fault, you know, like, because it was like, you know, did he really have any choice in that? But Bella kind of just like straight up tells us that he did have a choice in this, and he did, you know, play that role, like, and he is accountable for his actions, because like there was like a question, like, is Kieran accountable for his actions, because he's kind of like just the messenger. He's not the one who orders the murders, he's just the one who carries them out. But so like I like this because it gives Kieran agency in his actions. It gives him agency as the Purple Hyacinth. But you know, before it could have been like, oh, Kieran has no agency as the Purple Hyacinth. This is being forced upon him, and you know, it's not really out of his own motivations. But no, it is. He does have agency in this, and that's what Bella very bluntly points out. Thank you, Queen.
So my husband and I have this argument, including this morning. I don't know if you saw, I posted on my story, but like he and I, every time we talk about Kieran, I get very angry at him, and I'm like, how dare you talk about my Kieran like this? Because he's like, Kieran is horrible, he's a murderer, and he's like, in real life, if you were like simping over a guy who's like an assassin, you're like, but you're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, you can't talk that way. I'm sorry. Like, this is unacceptable. This is my love, and go out of the room and stuff like that. Very logical things. So
you guys heard it here, folks. Mindy would choose Kieran over her husband, you know.
I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a really tough.
I mean, you do have a sequin flippy pillow thing of one of those people.
Yes, I gave it to my friend. It was a present for my friend as a troll. but she said she covered it with another pillow cover that I got her, and I was like, how dare you, you have to take it off right now. Basically, I got my friend, my engineer, totally not emotional, and one who makes fun of me for all this stuff, a pillow with the sequins where you like, first it's a sequin, but then when you like whatever,
yeah, it's got an image on it.
You see it's
my
on one
friend
side
had
it's
one with
Kieran.
Nick Cage on it.
Oh, with who? Oh yes. So one side is Kieran, the other side is Kahir. So I was trolling her. But yes. I was like, don't cover it, because if not, like, you have to give me that pillow. But
I feel like someone should make that pillow, but it's like regular Kieran, and then when you flip it, it's like Monster Kieran. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just two sides, you know. But had to leave.
Eventually we'll be able to make one with the leader and like whoever turns out. That would be fun. That would be the final reveal.
Oh God.
So anyway, so now Bella really hits the nail on the head, and she says, you know, what's your motivation? Revenge, perhaps? And she taps him on the cheek. They're like super close. He's like, you'd be a very patient man if that was the case. I'll give you that. She has got it. And Kieran, you see his expression. He's like, he's serious, but he puts on his smirk, tries to hide it. And he's like, well, if you're so convinced of my shifty allegiance, why haven't you reported me already? And she says, you know why. And I'm like, no, I don't know why. Please tell us, Bella. I want to know.
I did want to say that, like, her, you know, kind of hitting the nail on the head, that's revenge. It's like, she knew that Kieran was protective over someone, right? And she makes that comment earlier, like, oh, I thought that motivation was long gone. And it's like very heavily implied that she's talking about the person that she mentioned back in like 72 or 73 that Kieran was like protective over.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, past tense, that person probably most likely 6 feet underground.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Bella's like conclusion, like, why would Kieran still be here if that person is dead, right? Is that revenge is the next step.
One other thing I like as well is this, like, I think this is the first time it's been put into these words, but we can kind of see that Kieran's motivation is over the potential death of a person, similar to how Lauren's entire motivation is about the potential death of one person. Are they the same person potentially? We don't know, but it's a cool parallel that I enjoy seeing.
So, I mean, it's like shipping stuff.
PH said, I think Effie was the one who said it, that there were going to be no love triangles in Purple Hyacinth. But right now it's like, did Kieran and Dylan date? Who knows?
Like, if Lauren and Dylan were like good friends, maybe Kieran and Dylan, like, they found comfort in each other, because obviously we don't know what happened, right? So, like, what if they were captured together, the kids, whatever, and like they were like the only people that they could rely on because they're both in the same situation, alone, same age, relatable. They kind of began to lean on each other as like friends. We don't know. Or you could be together. Who knows? We don't know. But
I had little brother vibes, because that's how older brothers behave towards little brothers.
Yeah.
Oh God, like, man, okay, unrelated and definitely not canon, but I can't help but like think of like Kieran and Dylan like cheering Bella on when they find out she has a crush on Darcy. You know, like how kids do, because they were probably like pretty young at the time, and then they're like, you have a girlfriend? Oh my God. But yeah,
I totally make fun of her for it.
Yeah, also I'm really curious about like oh sorry, go.
Sorry. Yeah, no,
I was gonna change the subject, so you stay on the subject before I change it.
No, it's fine. Okay.
Okay, but yeah, when he's like, why haven't you reported me already? And she's like, you know why? And it's like, I want to know what your relationship is and why y'all are still covering for each other. Lauren's like, why isn't he reporting her to the police? And Kieran's like, why haven't you reported me to the Phantom Scythe? And it's like, y'all have some weird like honor among murderers thing with each other, and I want to know the root of it.
They seem to have had some kind of direct agreement, because she says, I still have some sense of honor, despite what you might think. I'll keep my word until you are stupid enough to actually betray us. So the fact that she uses the word, I think they actually have some kind of pact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
they have to do a blood handshake, like how Lauren and Kieran did. what if that happened if we get a flashback to that with him and Bella making a deal of some sort, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I really hope that they didn't cut their hands with the golden viper knife, you know?
I mean, they'd both be dead, so.
Yeah.
Also notice that she says stupid enough to betray us. She identifies with the Phantom Scythe. She is the Phantom Scythe. She does not have an identity outside of that. She is one with them.
Well, I think also, like, I know they're not to be like devil's advocate or whatever, but like she could be like, you know, she has been referring to like the leader and how she like works only like, or like she answers primarily to him, and because like, you know, they're kind of like putting their masks back on right now after like that choice sequence, and so like I think, you know, she's kind of speaking from the perspective of the Phantom Scythe because that's what she's trying to like, you know, still like act as like I'm the purple hype, not the purple hype, I am in the Phantom Scythe, you know. So yeah, I don't think that she wants to give Kieran any indication of any wavering loyalties to him, especially since she's trying to like, you know, kind of like insinuate to him right now about his wavering loyalties.
Yeah. So, and now we have a very comedic scene. It's silhouetted in white. She puts her shoulders, you know, arms around the shoulders, like, who am I going to train with if you're gone? Everyone else dies so quickly. It's boring. But then, and it's like, oh, it's so nice and affectionate. How cute. And then she just knees him in his stomach.
Cannot catch a break.
I know.
But it's
between
funny,
like dragging dead bodies and climbing up onto someone's balcony and now getting kicked in his injury. His doctor is going to be so pissed. Like, I told you to lay off.
But I had to be all like suave at the balcony, and then I had to help a sister out by hiding a body. And then she kicked me, kneed me in my stomach.
Whoever wants to see next episode is just Kieran laying in bed, resting, having like tea and like a hot thermos. The whole, just like shot after shot of him in bed. That's it.
Yeah, like I really like this line, or like this moment though, like, who am I going to train with if you're gone? Everyone else dies so quickly, it's boring. Like, it's very comedic, but what I took from it was not, because I was like, it gives me like, you know, everyone else dies so quickly, it's boring. Like, Kieran and Bella are probably like some of the biggest constants in each other's lives, because like, you know, people will come and go, but then like, you know, they die, right?
Yeah.
And who am I to train with if you're gone? Like, Kieran is probably like Bella's primary training partner, and again, like, we know that they ran missions together, and so like they are friends. Like, it's like a stressful friendship in like one like where you're walking a tightrope, but like you know, they've had each other for a while now, right? And that's you know, it's like, I don't think either of them really wants to lose that, even if they don't want to admit that, because like, you know, I feel like this is Bella being kind of like bordering genuine. Like, she doesn't want Kieran to leave.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Right. And poor Kieran, he coughs, he's in a tremendous pain, and then he's like shaking, and he's like flattered to be the only one, it's only to hold your level, be the one and only to hold your level. And then he says, you still owe me, remember? Okay, what does he owe? I don't know. She says, I'll pay you back in time. Okay,
so because Kieran has been like, you know, very much like helpful to Bella, like he was willing to carry the body, like, again, this is like I think he has had to help her before, and this is like another reference to Bella's past, but I was thinking, like, you know, he does know about Darcy as well, kind of, as we see later on in the episode, and like he makes a comment in like 72 where he's like, you're no stranger to the game, when talking about like charming people. So I definitely think he knew about Darcy, but like Apostle VII in 91 makes a comment about how, like, I hope that girl hasn't upset you again, about Darcy, and you know, like, he blackmails Bella with Darcy, and so like, you know, Apostle VII has been aware of Darcy's like relevance to Bella's personal life for a while now as well, and so I kind of like to think that Kieran had to help Bella out with something related to Darcy, but also because that trio is like my next favorite thing, even though it's not even a canon trio.
In your mind, it's the favorite.
Yeah, in my mind. No, it's in the perfect world, Kieran would be third wheeling Bellarcy, you know?
You're funny. So Bella notices Kieran is like hunched over in pain. By the way, like he hides it around Lauren because he's still like trying to impress her and be there for her and whatever, not make her
also Lauren didn't see Kieran in the abdomen.
Right. Yeah, reason 0.1 in Lauren's favor. But around Bella,
point one in Bella's favor, Mindy, I think.
Oh my gosh.
He needs to get humbled, okay? Like Kieran needs a good humbling. Like
I'm not gonna argue.
Bella does, you know.
I'll let it go. But she notices and she's like, what is even up with you? And he says, the fourth thought it worthy to teach me a lesson just a few days ago. Don't get too jealous. But his messenger just told me that I might get a big gig to make up for my assignment.
One thing I also appreciate is like Bella didn't notice there was anything up with him for that entire time. So that just shows how good he is at like acting that he's okay. That even people who like know him like really, really well don't notice it either. And it's only after Bella literally kneed him in the gut and he just stayed hunched over in pain that she was like, what's wrong with you? You know? So it's just a testament to his ability to act like he's okay when he's not.
I was thinking she saw it for a while because like, I don't know, like what is even up with you? Like that's kind of like, you know, you say it after like you've noticed it a few times. And
I mean,
like,
they were both wincing when they were holding up the body, and then like he like when it cuts to her talking to him, and then he's just still in pain, and that's like the indicator. She's like, "What is up with you? Like, why are you still hunched over?" Because I feel like she's probably kicked him in the gut before he's ow, and then he like holds it maybe for a second, and then he stands up.
He's had enough moments like where he's been in pain that I think Bella would have noticed because like. But it's like this moment where it's like very obvious that he's in pain that she's like, okay, what's up with you, you know?
Yeah.
So now she treads on dangerous ice and she says, I wonder if it'll involve killing your little detective like you said you would, remember?
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I was like, yeah, I could see Kieran being ordered to kill Lauren. And I think someone there was like, absolutely not, you know? And then you're like, Bella and I, we were on the same wavelength, you know? But
I am getting like heart palpitations. She's like, she's totally digging. She's like, or is she actually your girlfriend now? Since we're old friends, come on now, you can tell me.
I love that, you know? Bella wingmanning Lockie and then
she's not wingmanning. She wants her dead.
Okay, but like she's still like, you know, teasing Kieran about it, like, you know, like they're kids or something.
This is the worst wingman ever.
Her big brother has a crush and she has to get after him for it.
I think it's sinister. I'm sorry.
I think
she's a very optimistic person. I think she wants to sell him out. I think she's planning.
She wants leverage. I agree with you there, but she's teasing him too.
Yeah,
she's 100%
information, but again, she's not going to tell that information to anyone in the Phantom site. So
because again, it's like Kieran has kept his mouth shut about Naira, right? Like he knows about her and like won't spill the tea or anything to anybody about that, as far as we can tell. So it's like, but also Bella is working like. Even having that information, if she finds out that Kieran's going to betray them, that's what the thing, like she's insinuated that he's going to betray them, and then she's like, oh, and you have a girlfriend now, so she's trying to poke at that to see if that is going to be a point of weakness for him.
Yes,
potentially
she can totally use it against him. She will use it if she needs to betray him and to get her killed, Lauren killed.
Yeah, I don't
trust her at all.
This is kind of going into the next couple panels, but I love how like Bella's trying to tease Kieran about like having a girlfriend, and then Kieran pulls a like full 180 and pulls out the Uno reverse. And he's like, I know you have a girlfriend too.
Let's read the panel. He's like, my mind hasn't changed. I know better than to burden myself with such weakness for them to prey on, which we've all said, right? It's very practical. A lesson some of us still have to learn. And she's like, she means nothing to me anymore.
Bella, okay, the closet is glass, you know. Very clear, pristine glass.
As we see in a second, he's like, right, would you kill her if your apostle ordered her to? And she kicks him, and she says, it'll be my pleasure to slice his throat open if he does.
He fully hit that. He knew that he was poking at a wound that was bleeding and open, and he poked it anyways, knowing that she was gonna go ape shit, and he did it anyways, just to get that W.
I'm like, damn, Kieran, like, okay, because again, battle of the wits here, but like, I love how Bella legit is like, she means nothing to me, to literally like, I would kill the most important man in my life for her, you know, like, girl, oh my god,
giving us some mixed signals.
Also, like, my also another one of my favorite things that I like to fall asleep to is the imagery of Bella slicing off Apostle VII's head. It's very calming for me, you know, very therapeutic. And I love that she straight up says that she would kill Apostle VII for Darcy. Like, girl.
Yeah. Well, and this just shows how volatile and how what's the word I'm searching for? Impulsive she is with her decision making. Like in one end of her mouth, she's like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever, you know, the Phantom Scythe tells me to do because we are one. And then when that allegiance gets tested with somebody that she cares about and Kieran pokes at it, she's like, well, I'll fucking kill them. And I will do it with pleasure. Like, and you know, she's dead serious, because if you look at this panel, like, holy crap. Like that look on her face.
Like, also like Kieran is like kneeling right now. Like, she is
poor guy.
Very, like, she's portrayed as very powerful right now. You know, the shadow. Now, like, you know, we're kind of like looking at her from the perspective of Kieran, right?
Sure.
And you know, she's standing above him and her eyes are glowing a bit. But yeah, like, my Dolores heart, I was like, oh my god. look. If they're willing to kill for you, I'm like, okay. Like, you know, let me know a little more about this.
What do you say?
But yeah, like, it is like very, I find it like really interesting to think about, because you know, she's known Apostle VII for 15 years now, and Darcy probably even less, but like, you know, and I think that Bella definitely like acknowledges to herself, like, whether she likes to acknowledge it or not, like, she definitely does recognize that Apostle VII is not, you know, a very like friendly or like helpful or healthy person to be around, as like Kieran kind of tries to poke at later. But like, yeah, it's like when Bella found Darcy in her trailer, it was probably like the most emotion we had gotten out of Bella up to that point in the comic, because like, she literally like walks into that trailer, sees Darcy, and Darcy's like, want to join me for tea? And she like turns around and has like a mini panic attack. She's like, oh my god, my ex is here, you know? And like, it's like the first time that we've actually like seen Bella like scared or like just panicked, even, like, you know, besides her like mask of like confidence. And so yeah, Darcy definitely means a lot, and especially they were calling each other dear and princess. Like, that's kind of suspicious, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so when Bella, I reread 91, because a bit of 91, I skimmed it because I was looking for a panel, and when Apostle VII threatens Darcy, Bella looks up like very quickly, and I was rereading that and it's like, dang, like, I wonder if Bella like in her mind was thinking of like killing him that moment, like just for it's like, oh my god, am I gonna have to kill him right now, you know? But I think like also like, if even though Bella is saying that it would be her pleasure to kill Apostle VII when that time comes, if that time comes. We've seen how like manipulative Apostle VII is, and he has a lot of leverage over Bella, and he's kind of like groomed her into you know, the assassin that she is today. And so I wonder, like, even though if she says it and if she fully believes that she can do it, I wonder if like she'll hesitate if that moment were ever to actually come, because you know, Apostle VII is like, you know, and Kieran says this later, like she would have died for him, but you know, I think even though her loyalties are definitely not near him, I think, you know, he was still the man who like took her in, and I think she'll remember that. And you know, I think Apostle VII will get into her head and stop her from killing him, because he was able to get into the leader's head like a bit last chapter. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think I don't think that, but might be the only murder she would ever regret.
I don't think she'll regret it, but I think she'll be scared to do it, you know.
So Kieran says, "Good for once," and poor guy is like kneeling. He can't even get up. He's wincing. He's sweating. Like, "Good for once, I must say, I would approve your murderous intentions." So yeah, he normally doesn't approve of her murderous intentions. So it's good. Though
he's one to talk.
Yeah. Though once upon a time, you would have died for your apostle. So yeah, it's interesting because the way that we saw them before was like a very unhealthy dynamic. But it looks like she was really into him. Like he was probably like her father figure, or like some kind of twisted connection that she had with him.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Oh my God. Okay. I don't know how I forgot to say this, but Kieran's line about how like a lesson some of us still have to learn, very much directed at Bella, but also when I was reading 91, I noticed this line that was like, Apostle VII said, sorry, I don't mean backtrack, but this is really important to me. He said, I've taught you better than this, and I believe he's referring to Darcy. And so like, you know, Bella being raised with that kind of influence, and Kieran even calling it like, you know, relationships a weakness now, like he knows better than to burden himself with with this as a weakness. It makes me wonder about the Bella-Darcy relationship, and like even though Bella does care for Darcy, it makes me wonder if she still sees Darcy as like her weakness, you know, and that's also why she doesn't want to be around Darcy, because it acknowledges that she still has flaws. And you know, Bella's trying to become #1 assassin. She doesn't want to be a flawed person. She's trying to, I think she very much has like the mindset of, I'm going to be perfect, you know. And so she can't stand being around Darcy, who reminds her that she very much is still human and she still feels, and she, you know, it reminds Bella of what she cannot have in her current state, which is like, you know, a relationship and like human connection. And that for me makes me super sad.
And you see, even from her next line, what she says, like she doesn't want to be weak. She considers relationships weakness, right? She's like, I'm stronger now, meaning like she's not going to die for the apostle. She doesn't need him anymore. And she gets very upset. Like this is her first upset face that we've seen from her, genuine anger. And Kieran says, and I suppose you think you owe it to the phantom scythe. And she says, I do. We do. You know the fate that awaits Great Chapel orphans. The circus freed me from that life, but the apostle made me powerful. Yeah. And now, well, we see a flashback of why she felt powerless before. We have a crash. We see little Bella, and we hear someone screaming at her, go make yourself useful. Don't come back before you've sold everything. And we see, well, presumably her dad looming in the doorway over her young Bella at his feet. He has a bottle of probably alcohol in his hands. And then we see Bella outside in the cold, not properly dressed, with the snow, you know, scene that we've seen before. And she has a little match in front of her. It looks like she's looking at it very sadly. She probably has to sell matches or sell stuff. And yeah, and then it seems as though she's returning. She comes back. She's like a teenager over here. Same doorway, only now she's the one looming in the doorway. She's the powerful figure. And there's drunk dad on the couch, passed out, all the alcohol bottles around him, and Bella raising her knife. And he wakes up, sees her, and sees the knife coming down, and stab. So finally, we got our confirmation of her backstory.
I have so much to say on this. Okay, so again, like I thought the guy was her dad as well, but some people were in the server were pointing out that like it could have been like her uncle or just someone who like
They
took
have
her
the
in.
same eyes though.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like they have the same eyes. So, but also building off that, I was like, it's the dad and Bella look like nothing alike, and like Kim, she definitely looks like a mix of her parents that we've seen, and very much like her mother. But with Bella, like the only thing that she shares is like the eyes, which makes me think that like, you know, she probably looks a lot like her mom, you know, just like face shape, like nose, like hair. Her mom probably had pink hair too. And so I don't know, I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, oh, it's probably really sad. Like whenever she looks in the mirror, she probably like thinks of her mom. Maybe because like, I don't know, we don't know if she knew her mom or what happened to her mom, but like that was just like a sad little headcanon in mine.
Yeah. I actually really like that. And I think the reason why I do, I've been watching the new season of Dexter. And so there's this dynamic, not to give too many spoilers, but there's this dynamic between Dexter and his son who comes back to find him. And they start talking about how they share their quote, dark passenger. Right. And so it makes me think of that, like that was the one gift, if you want to call it a gift, that if this is her father, his vindictiveness and his negativity is what he gave her. That's what I see in those eyes.
Oh boy,
that deadly face. That's what I see.
I think it's like interesting that like, you know, Bella refers to herself as a Great Chapel orphan, but you know, at the time when Redcliffe took her in, she still had her father, but likely her bio father. And so like I find it interesting that she considered herself parentless despite him still being alive, and it definitely like, I mean, like, it makes sense.
And now we know why.
It also, I think
him to be an actual parent of hers. And
I think you're still called an orphan even if only one parent is not alive. So
no, I think an orphan is when both parents are dead. No,
I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Let me Google.
Or like both parents are just like not present for whatever. Like,
I mean, also I wouldn't consider him a father either, because not only a father is not only just like blood, but it's also you take care of your child, you do the best for them, you try to make sure that they at least have like a safe life. He's not acting like a father in this case. He is an abuser in this case. So like for her to think of herself as an orphan, even though she has a father or a father figure that like, no, that's not a real dad.
And like, you know, this
Uncle Tristan is a father figure, right? Even though he's not her dad,
Tristan?
He's a father to her. He acts as a father to her, to Lauren.
I was like, after I was reading this, I was like thinking to myself, like, oh my god, Tristan and Bella should hug. Like, I know Tristan does not know who Bella is, and Bella does not care who Tristan is.
But needs a dad.
Like, she needs a better dad figure in her life. Like, her first one kind of bad, her second one definitely bad, and then well, both of them are definitely bad, and then, you know, third time's the charm, right?
No, it's too late for her. Sorry, she's too old.
Too late. Come on, Mindy.
She's too messed up. She's beyond repair. Sorry.
Listen.
And would fix all the problems in my life, and I like to extend that sentiment to Bella.
Listen, 90% of people can be redeemed. they can. Just everyone in Purple Hyacinth just needs to get therapy. Lots and lots and lots of therapy.
Kim's getting therapy right now. We've got the ball rolling, you know? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But I really like how Kieran, and we've talked or we've speculated about this before, that like, you know, Bella feels indebted to Redcliffe for taking her in because, you know, like if she stayed in Great Chapel, she would have died. And this kind of like confirms it, right? But we also know more about her parental situation, and so like
Bella, kind of sad that we know more about Bella's backstory than Kieran's at this point. Like,
I mean,
oh my gosh.
Like, okay, I have something to say about that too, but I just want to say that, like, you know, it makes sense that why she would have died for like Redcliffe or Apostle VII, as Kieran was putting it, because like he kind of did save her life, and I think, you know, that's going to be what Bella remembers, right? Because she does kind of have, you know, this episode does tell us that she does have her own little moral code, and, you know, that pact, right, that she has with Kieran. And so I think, like, you know, Bella kind of like Kieran like says that, like, oh, you think that you owe your life to the Phantom Scythe, and basically like Apostle VII, and Bella's like, I do, we do, like.
So Fwoot, can I gloat a little bit? Remember when we originally talked about the circus and you're like, oh, those children were forced into it, and I kept saying no, they saved their lives, and like they were gonna be like cold and dying on the street, and kids like enjoy being part of a circus. So I'm just saying,
not everything you said in that sentence was correct though, because like I definitely agree that Redcliffe did save their lives, but the reason he saved that lives was for his own financial gain. So he wasn't saving their lives. He was saving their life to save the financial empire off them.
I mean, the Phantom Scythe has their own agenda too. They, as we found out last episode, they parade as being these people that are bringing justice to the world, but they all have their own selfish motives. So I wouldn't put them in the benevolent, like they can do good things for bad reasons.
But it's still a good thing, you know, like you can't really say that, oh, let them kids die on the street, you know, like
I get that.
Exactly.
But then using them.
We are missing the context of that conversation.
Sure.
Because when we were saying that, we were discussing about like whether Redcliffe was an actual like antagonist or not. And I was saying, I was vouching like, yeah, he's an antagonist, like because it's, you know, you don't take orphans off the street that you know that you can easily, you know, manipulate and abuse and exploit for your own gain.
So I'm actually curious because, you know, the interaction that we have with him in whatever it was, 90 something, he's obviously very manipulative. But I am curious, like, what was his motivation to begin with? Like, did he start out, like, why did he want to do this?
He's from free travel as well, we learned, right? So it's like
so I do wonder if he like started out with better intentions and then just like grew drunk
greedy,
on power
selfish.
or something.
Isn't that what happens with every revolution?
Right.
I mean, they start out with good intentions and then they become the very people they were trying to undo. And that's exactly what we're seeing here.
To see yourself become the villain.
Exactly.
But, yeah, like I don't know. I'm still kind of suspicious of Redcliffe, and especially because of like Darcy's comments in 110 about how he's very popular among the upper spheres and lower spheres. So I think he's definitely like trying to gain public approval because that's how he like gains power, you know. But he definitely made that circus with the intention to, you know, make money. And you know, I think, you know, even though Bella, her loyalties to Apostle VII are kind of like very questionable and vague, you know, she still believes that like she owes her life to Redcliffe, and that because the circus, you know, the circus specifically, she doesn't say the Phantom Scythe freed me from that life, she says the circus, which is, you know, Redcliffe's doing. The circus freed from that life being, you know, the fate that, you know, you know, death basically.
And I think one of the things I want to point out, and it kind of involves these next lines from Kieran. So Kieran says, right, what's that saying again? A bloody cage is still a cage. And he pulls the knife out on her, right? Or sword, excuse me. Can't believe I said knife. And she's like, except the only one that feels trapped here is you. Am I though?
That line.
Yes. And here's why. So we've been talking about this whole time, like, you know, does the Phantom Scythe have noble intentions? Maybe they did at one point in time, and now they've morphed into something totally different. Their ambivalence with where they fall on the good to evil spectrum is illustrated here with both Kieran and Belladonna, because she feels she's so back and forth and ambivalent about her place in this. Like, I owe it to them, but I have my own ethos that I go by, and so does Kieran. Like, he has some allegiances, but he has his own ethos too. And so it's meant to be a gray area. It's meant to give us a question of, you know, who are they really?
And sorry.
Go ahead.
You know, the other thing I really like about that line where he says like the bloody cage is still a cage, and she's like, but the only one who feels trapped is you, is like the whole idea of they're stuck having to kill, having to take orders and do all these things, right? And Kieran sees that as being stuck, but Bella sees that as just a part of her life, and she doesn't feel burdened or really trapped by it in her day-to-day, but Kieran does, and that really does illustrate the big difference between them and their perceptions of their place in this organization, right? Bella does it. She couldn't really care less. If they come for her girl, she will go after them, but that's not really a thing that she's necessarily worried about. She knows what she'll do, right? But at the end of the day, she will be loyal until they bite her, basically. With Kieran, he is not, he does feel trapped by it, right? He is acting, he's working to open the cage, to break the cage, right? So I really like that, how that one line basically sums up, that one interaction sums up basically the entire episode and how they perceive themselves in their lives. And it's just a really great line.
I want to add a bit of a contrasting perspective to that, because Kieran's line, "Am I though?" Like, I thought that I saw that as like, "Am I the only one who feels trapped?"
And then look at her expression when he says that.
And she literally just tries to leave the conversation at that point. And the thing was that, like, I thought Bella as trapped. I've seen Bella as trapped because there's a very specific line from episode 89 where Darcy is like, "I need an escape," and she's like, "You of all people should know how that feels." And she says that to Bella, which, you know, it probably means that like Bella wanted to escape at some point. She wanted to escape something, whether it be like the circus or like the Phantom Sights. She is not content with whatever situation she was in at that time. And, you know, it definitely hits Bella, because I'm pretty sure after that is the panels where it's like Bella and Darcy just like staring at each other with like silence. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on that, but like Darcy definitely like is clued in on it. And so I think, although Bella doesn't try to act like it, I think she's in denial because again, like, you know, she doesn't want to
deep denial.
This is also like, we kind of skimmed over this, but I think it's because, you know, she sees the Phantom Sight and she sees the circus as power and empowerment, because
it was a form of freedom for her at one point.
The apostle made her powerful. And I wrote 2,300 words on this the other night instead of working on my submission for the fan art contest. And but like the empowerment that Bella feels from the Phantom Sight, it's very much superficial, because she says that like it makes me powerful, right? But she, in the Phantom Sight and in the circus, she is still kind of like working for the agenda of men. And I think it's like very interesting how she joined the circus to escape, you know, very much in part to like escape her father. Now that like we've learned this about her, and you know that man had her you know, selling matches, probably matches to like make money so he could, you know, drink to support his own lifestyle. And then we have Redcliffe, who put Bella to work in the circus as a performer so she could make money to support his own lifestyle. And so there's very much like a parallel between these two father figures in her lives. And, you know, like Bella, like, even though like Bella's father, like, you know, she kind of had that thing of him being family, like she still like wasn't like, she didn't have her own agency in that. And like, you know, she wasn't cared for, and she had to become very independent. And then, you know, even though she tries to escape that, she kind of still ends up in the very same situation, just with different people.
And that's like the irony, isn't it, right? Because she says the only one who feels trapped is you, where in reality she is trapped, but she doesn't really, she's trying not to see it that way, because if she's trapped, she's not powerful.
It's very deliberate. She's trying to, with the thing that she does, she's projecting it onto him because she doesn't want to feel that for herself. She'd rather ignore reality because it's too painful to face.
And so I was thinking about this a lot because I think what gives Bella power, especially like with this episode, is that Bella has choice, and that is very much like, you know, power, right? The ability to choose. And, you know, Apostle VII gave her the opportunity of power by extending his hand to her when she was a child, and she had a choice. She could take it or she could not. And that just reminds me of Bella and Kieran's conversation earlier about how you know, they always have a choice, but, you know, if they don't do what their superiors want, or like if they want their way out, it's like death. So for Bella, you know, she could have chosen to take in Redcliffe's hand, or she could have chosen to die. And it's a very bleak choice, very bleak outcomes, but, you know, they made that choice. And, you know, there is power in choice, and I think that like Bella does find, again, but Bella, that's what Bella finds power in. But I think what keeps that choice from being like full on power is that, you know, it doesn't really like serve her, kind of like, it's like survival, but also like her choices, she either has to choose between helping out someone else or like dying, basically. And what I notice is that in contrast with her relationship to Darcy also asks her to help, but Bella has the choice to turn it down, and she doesn't face any consequences that would be on par with, like, you know, her straight up dying, you know. And I think that's like, although like, you know, it's like, Bella and Darcy's not in the Phantom side, I think it's just really interesting how, you know, in the relationships with Bella that we've seen in our closer relationships, it's been primarily very high stakes, and a lot of, and you know, the people, her superiors, value her for what she can do for them rather than her as an actual person. But, you know, Darcy does see her as a person, and Darcy respects her boundaries when Bella sets them by, you know,
I don't know about that. She literally invaded her house.
She doesn't try to insist on Bella helping her.
Well, anyway, let's finish up because we only have a couple panels left. And she waltzes out of there. She's like, see you around, Kieran. Have fun. And the instant she leaves, poor Kieran crashes to the floor. Feels so bad for him. Sword is still right in front of him, shining. He's huffing and sweating. And he says, I wonder, looks at his hands, when will be my next visit to the morgue? And obviously the bloody hands, it's a motif where he's like, what do I have to do next?
But for once, his hands are actually bloody from carrying that body.
God.
I did forget to say that, Kieran, this is the second time a woman has had to ask you to let them go. That's not very Women's History Month of you. So
that is what you find problem with Kieran.
I forgot to say this earlier, and then we moved past it, and I was like, oh, I gotta get it in, you know.
Look, man
needs a nap.
Yeah.
That's all I want for him right now, man. He needs a nap. He needs some soup.
He needs like a week off. I'm sure Soph and F need a week off too, but
giant panels that they're working on in episodes. God.
Yeah, 117 panels. I saw that. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to remember what's the average. Or like,
typical webtoon is anywhere between like 60 and 75 panels.
Nice. I know that the finale for season 1 was really long compared to the rest of the season. So I'm really curious about that, to see like have they gotten longer, because I feel like these episodes have been pretty decently long that we've been getting, you know. We're getting spoiled. It's nice.
I think inspirational counted panels. I don't know if when he last updated it.
So bad for him. Like, actually, like, I thought about, like, you know, when I like cite quotes, I'd be like, should I cite it like a book where I count the panels to what number of panels it is? Like, no, that's so redundant, you know.
That's his like English class again.
Yeah.
Oh God. But I mean, coming back to these panels and, you know, what's happening here, we're seeing rather that over time, this little weakness has chipped away at Kieran's steady resolve. and both physically and emotionally. And so now he's really questioning himself. He was deflecting onto Bella, and saying like, do you really, am I really the only one who's trapped? And, do you really have, was his way of questioning, do you really have this power? Do you really have this freedom? And he still questions it for himself. And we see that here. I wonder when will be my next visit to the morgue. And if you want to talk about foreshadowing, like basically just hit me over the head with it.
I'm so nervous. I'm like, who will it be? Please
I know.
Not Sandman. Please not Sandman.
Well,
Also,
and
I did want to add to that, like about people dying.
Yeah.
I need to prepare for tomorrow night's kill. I wonder if he'll come back. Like, it's probably not, but I'm like, girl, who is that next kill? I don't know.
Do we think, based on the episodes that we've seen before, do we think that F and Soph would kill Kieran?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It would be like,
that is a pure emotional response.
You can do it well. Like, I don't think you can kill Kieran off well. Like, given everything that they've shown, not even related to Kieran, but just like, the morality of the world and how that, like, I'm like, this
maybe fake his death.
Like, yeah, maybe fake his death, but I feel like
I worry so much.
I feel like if they did kill off Kieran, no matter how they write it, it would just be hypocritical of everything that they've tried to, share in the theme.
I just live in fear constantly that they're gonna kill him, like I've been burned. Some of my favorite characters have died. Fwoot, I know some of your favorite characters have been murdered as well. We just have to deal with it. And I worry.
I can't. I'm good.
I pray. I hope that it doesn't.
Then you didn't have to bring that up on the day that they announced the live action movie for the show that like ruined my life.
DM'd me about it. So
okay, hold on. Okay, basically for context, my favorite character ever is from this show called Voltron, Legendary Defender, and they killed off my favorite character, and I got to see his melted corpse. So I hope that doesn't happen to the Kieran.
They also didn't make my ship canon.
I can't. I really can't.
God.
But Patty, by the way, that is, I will say, as much as I'm literally like dying if I have to think about it, that is what I thought when he said, "Oh, I wonder what my next visit to the morgue will be." I was like, "Yeah, you'll come as a body, not as a murderer." But I really cannot think about it because I'm not like, I really can't. I just can't. I'm not the kind of person who was like, I can't. I really
cynical and morbid like I am.
If it happens, I seriously might have to like not be on that episode because I just cannot handle it emotionally. I will break down.
Like you set it up and you'd be like, okay, you guys talk about it, have fun.
It'll just be crying for 3 hours. Like I can't.
I mean, please don't get me wrong. I love Kieran. He's a fantastic character. And at the same time, like in the very beginning, like maybe not now because of the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3 and how he's basically getting his redemption arc, right? But it really in season 1, I questioned it. I was like, how can he come back from this? I don't even know. And I was like, honest to God thought that he was going to get killed off by the end of the series. I really did. Like, now I question it, but
I don't want it.
I don't want it either, but like part of me was like, I could see them doing that just to make us suffer.
No.
Yeah, I've had the will Kieran die or not like conversation like probably hundreds of times now.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm kind of desensitized to it. But like I don't know. I feel like if they did kill him off, it'd be like, oh, look at this angst, but like angst doesn't make good writing.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
No, hold on.
I disagree.
I
write angst.
If you're writing angst in a way that like completely conflicts with the major themes that have been presented in the story, and it's just like hypocritical to the narrative, then it's like, I kind of wonder why you're trying to like make this thing happen and why you're like kind of forcing it, right? When everything else thematically and if you're trying to write this arc where everything like kind of ties together at the end, chopping off like the character that kind of embodies the themes of your story does not seem like the best idea. Like if you're trying to like in like sacrificing the heart of your story for people to cry,
So I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that, because I think that Kieran, like, if I suspect what you're saying is that Kieran needs to get redemption. So I do think that it can come with death. But again, I don't know why I'm saying this, because I don't want it to happen. So forget it. I'm just gonna say, Fwoot, I agree with what you say exactly.
I would fight the death by redemption trope in a Denny's parking lot.
I hate
it with a passion, because
he's earning it right now. Like, he doesn't need to die to get it. He's working on it right now. Like,
because I think, like, there's no way that the death by redemption trope can be done well, because they either die after the redemption arc, which kind of makes it a little obsolete. You put in all this work, you don't really get to reap the benefits of it, besides, like,
but that's 5 minutes. The tragedy. That's why why it would be a tragedy.
I know, but
now I need to write a PH fic where he dies.
Oh my god.
No.
Ahead of you guys, I used to write fics, and I would cry over all the time. But yeah, I like, but if you kill a character to redeem them, then you basically, like, that character puts no work into actually redeeming themselves. They just die and everyone forgives them, and that probably won't happen to Kieran, because he's going through, like, his way of, like, healing right now. But just to kill him off at the end of the story, like, maybe when he's in old age, I get it, but, like, to kill him off now,
I let him die when he's old.
When he's, like, in his 20s, I'm like, I don't know. It's like, it's depressing, and, like, yeah, I understand, like, why, like, you want to bank all that angst, but it's like, what was the reason other than straight up angst?
I mean, it wouldn't be for straight up angst. There's probably going to be some narratives that, like, if they were to do it, which I don't want. I mean, like, but if they did, it wouldn't just be for the angst factor. There would be a lot in the plot, a martyr or something. Put it together, I would think, but I just don't want it, so I'm not going to think about it.
But like, Soph herself has said that, like, the theme of Purple Hyacinth is healing, and so killing off the character that is actively working towards that healing, and and is trying to become a better person. Like, even Kieran said it, like, I've become a better person because of you. Aww. Right? Like, if you don't kill that character off while saying that,
sure you can.
Your comic is about healing, because it's Kieran. We could say that, like, Kieran is actively trying to seek healing from everything that he's gone through, and so even if he has done, like, terrible things, he is trying to, like, make amends for it. And like, just punishing someone for that, like, through death is, like, I mean, like, it doesn't matter, like, what he does. It's, like, ultimately, like, narratively, overall, in a bigger scheme, death is often punishment for something, right? Like a Disney villains, they die at the end because they were, like, villains.
Well,
but death does not see. I won't go off on too much of a tangent here, but I don't think death in and of itself is always a punishment.
I know,
so I don't completely agree.
I also don't completely. I also don't want to be on a full tangent. Sorry.
I hear you, and I also don't think that angst is completely out of the equation. Now, if it's completely incongruent with the plot, sure, I get you. I just think that in the earlier stages, I thought that it was very possible that he could have been killed off by the end of the series. And now I question it, because there is this work that he's doing. So you're right in that aspect. But I don't think that, like, flat out, like, axing angst and axing death as redemption, I don't necessarily agree with that from a story perspective, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Like, because, like, maybe it's just I've seen the death through redemption trope done very poorly in the past.
That's entirely yeah.
So I can see I have a negative view of it, but I also just, like,
you're a Kieran simp. You want him to live.
I'm not a Kieran simp. I just think it would not make a lot of narrative sense to kill him off right now. But that could evolve as the story goes on. But there are also some themes in the story about, like, the death penalty has been brought up a few times, and it's kind of like, that is, like, very much a real debate. Like, is the death penalty, like, a good thing or not? I would personally say no. I think it should abolish the death penalty, but that is something that was abolished in Purple Hyacinth, and so, like, punishment by death is very much something that exists within that world. And if that is a theme that is present within the story, that death can be punishment, I think it'd be kind of weird to give Kieran that.
Fair.
And like also like, you know, everyone's like rooting for Kieran to like have that like happy ending, and I think like, you know, it'd just be kind of disappointing if he died, like from the perspective of like the audience. However, like I feel like I do have to mention, because everyone has been bringing this up lately, like, does Bella survive? Because, you know, if we think that Kieran's going to die, or if we believe that Kieran has enough plot armor not to die, like, where does that also put Bella? Because she is very similar to him, but she doesn't really like have everything set up like Kieran does that would really justify her living to the end. And I think that's also something interesting that we could talk about.
Well, and I think at the very end of things, like just knowing what I've seen from this comic so far, is that I don't think we're going to get a complete happy ending. I think it's going to be gut-wrenching no matter how it happens. Like we will probably, like, I'll be on that wavelength and say he will probably survive, but there will be a cost.
The ending is, a lot of people believe it to be bittersweet. I also believe it's going to be bittersweet in some way. Like, it's not going to be like, and they live happily ever after. No, we're not going to
like sail off into the sunset. So
I'm
sorry.
not here. I don't like stories that have happy endings.
But
I want
like
this to end like how, I don't know if any of you watch anime, but Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has one of the best endings of anything I've ever seen, because it's bittersweet. There is costs and consequences to the characters' like actions during the finale and stuff. I don't think I would change a single thing about it though, because it all feels so like complete and satisfying. Like for me as a person who watched it, it is my favorite anime ever for a reason, and it's just such a good way to conclude that story, conclude all of these characters' arcs in a way that doesn't feel like it's all sunshine and rainbows, but also it's not doom and gloom either. There's a mix. It's like a mixed bag, but generally hopeful, and I love that. And that's what I want for PH.
Amen.
I completely agree. Like, I don't think it would be a satisfying ending if Kieran wasn't there to see it. Like, you know, like I think he like I don't know. I don't really know if I should put like, do characters deserve whatnot, but I think like, you know, he's worked for, like a better ending for himself, like, you know, and he's put in effort to, you know, make himself a better person. And he is actively like trying to just make amends for his actions, and he does feel regret over like what he has had to do. And so like, you know, I think that for a character, at least when you're writing that, like, you want to see the fulfillment of all of that, which would be like a happier ending for him. Like, not a perfect ending probably, given that Kieran has killed hundreds of people, but you know, just something where like he doesn't die, right? Like, you know, that all that work comes to some kind of fruition.
We shall have to wait and see.
Yeah, but if Bella dies though, I'm flooding the street with my tears.
All right.
Again, I'll feel it through the ether if she dies. Who has read it?
I'll be thinking of it.
Yeah, I'll like rise us from the dead, and like, you know, but it's gonna sense like a disturbance in the force.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining. This was a great episode. There was a lot of discussion, awesome discussion. So thank you so much for being wonderful co-host as always.
Thank you for having us again, Mindy, and good to meet you, Patty.
It was nice to meet you too as well. Thanks for having me.
I had so much fun discussing this with you guys, and especially like Patty, because like we haven't talked about Purple Hyacinth before.
I know.
Yeah, and such a good episode too. Like
it really was.
5, you know, maybe top 3, maybe number 1.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, a lot of content. Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful night.
See you later.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Lepris, Lily, Jenny, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Joe Rochelle, Saucy Toggles, Meg, Anne Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Patty, Milda, Esther, Watching People, Taurus, Papa Seed, Marie, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Duranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Daniel, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, Kaylee, and Jen. Your support is truly appreciated.